What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp here for the Fightful.com podcast, October 17th edition, brought to you by DraftBeast.com, Onnit, and TrigTent.com. If you want a different kind of election coverage, head over to TrigTent.com. Great supporters of Fightful.com. Also, DraftBeast.com. Hey, you're not going to find any other games, any other daily fantasy games where you can make a ton of money off of Vontaze Burfict just committing heinous acts. This is the place for you. DraftBeast.com. They have the goon games. They have the games where you pick the worst team possible. All that good stuff. Also, Onnit, if you watch this week's Madden tournament on Up, Up, Down, Down, you saw Seth Rollins sporting that beautiful green Onnit shirt. Go to our podcast page, Fightful.com/podcast. Recently revamped, by the way. Easily organized for you guys by day, even. Lots of cool stuff there, but open up any of those podcast pages, click that Onnit link, and you can use the same supplements, equipment, and apparel that Bailey, Adam Cole, Triple H, Cesaro, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, all of those guys use. So check them out as well. Guys, we are joined by Alex Pawlowski and Trina. Now, I got to say this, guys. Me and Alex, well, Trina, I think you were probably out of town this weekend, too. You're always out of town. You're always somewhere.
Yeah.
So none of us were around. So I'll say that it's a good thing no news broke until Old Faithful Sunday night, Paige and Del Rio.
Oh, my. Yeah.
I would say, now as a content gatherer, Paige and Alberto Del Rio have given me about, 93 headlines over the past 4 weeks, over the past 2 months. We've had 3 suspensions, a stabbing, an engagement, a neck surgery, all kinds of good stuff.
Well, you also have the 12 different versions of the stabbing.
That's very true. That's been a headline as well.
And
so we are definitely going to talk.
Zero police reports, actually.
Yeah, no police reports that I've been able to track down, at least. We're going to get to that. Obviously, the big story, the reason why most people are here. One, Bill Goldberg is back in the WWE. They waited, they saved him for the 3rd hour, which a lot of times what WWE does is they will put their most important segment on in hour 2 because it's usually the highest rated hour. Not tonight. They saved this for the final segment, the traditional main event segment. So they really got to build up the likes of Bo Dallas and Titus O'Neil and the Shining Stars and people like that. We will also be talking about that. But Alex, Bill Goldberg is back. A far cry from what you've been covering on Superstars and Main Event.
Not exactly that kind of quality. I was kind of surprised at how much it affected me. I mean, I was a Goldberg mark back in 97, 98. I was in college. We were watching the Monday Night Wars in a dorm room. But I mean, I do not have fond memories of his WWE run in 03 and 04. And that was 12 years ago. I saw somebody posted on Twitter earlier today footage of a match that the Ultimate Warrior had against Orlando Jordan, like in 2008. And
he came off the top rope with a body press.
Yeah. And I was just like, I hope that's not what Goldberg looks like now. I hope his knees aren't that bad. But he looks good in that jacket. I have no idea what he's going to look like at Survivor Series, but right now I feel like he could totally kick somebody's ass. And the Goldberg chants were overpowering. He was overcome with emotion. You could tell it was a really, really important thing for him to have his wife and his kid there. Like, it was a pretty cool moment overall. And definitely I thought I was going to be, jaded mid-30s wrestling fan about it, and totally wasn't. It totally got me.
I was a little bit, just a little bit. This is the first time he ever performed in front of his wife, his kid. He really did seem like a guy who hadn't been there before, but that's okay because he hasn't been there in 12 and a half years. He didn't look at the hard camera, all that kind of stuff, but it's his moment. To be honest, it's his moment. It's been 12 years. There's one reason there's 2 reasons he's back. For his family and for the money. Those 2 reasons. He did stop off and train with Dwayne Ludwig today at Elevation, Trina. I know you're familiar with MMA. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe he'll fight. He might end up fighting Uriah Faber before too long.
Or GSP.
God, hey, anything's possible with what we heard, but we'll also be talking about GSP later.
Yeah.
Well, what did you think about Goldberg? I'll say this: the line where he said Goldberg or Brock Lesnar, not only are you next, you're last. That was that was cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, I got on the air with you guys, and I told you I have Goldberg goosebumps. Yeah, I hate to I feel like we're all revealing our age here, but I was in high school. I was 16, 17 when I was a big Goldberg mark. So it's a very nostalgic time for me, and we've talked about this on our podcast, and I think that's what people are feeling. They're feeling nostalgia, and they're feeling that time. It was just electric, and I feel like when he came out and I could hear the chants, I just got goosebumps. It really, I was transported back. And there are grown men all over the internet that are feeling the same way. So I don't feel as bad that I'm marking out as much, but it was awesome. I still have chills. It's crazy.
The crowd was chanting for Goldberg. No manufactured chants here. Crowd was happy to see him, a Denver crowd, which generally is an okay crowd when they're not giving stuff like that really weird match several years ago. Remember when the owner of the Denver Nuggets or whoever it was, I don't think it was there, but they did have, which, I mean, okay, that wasn't in Denver. I remember that was them taking a shot at Denver, but they had that weird basketball theme thing. I'm all for Goldberg coming in, especially if they're going to do these 3 5-on-5 matches, because quite honestly, if they wanted those 3 5-on-5 matches to go 40 minutes each, they could. Mm-hmm. You could apply stakes to these Survivor Series elimination matches, make them mean something, make the WWE I mentioned this on the air. Hey, maybe if the 5 members of Raw win, all 5 of them get a title shot against Kevin Owens, or maybe they run Raw for 1 week, kind of like they did in 2004 when it was Maven and Chris Benoit, a bunch of guys. When stakes are applied to these, the Survivor Series can be a special kind of match. And that can hide what maybe Goldberg and Brock Lesnar may be lacking. I'll ask you this, Trina. How do you think they're going to do this? Do you think they're going to use smoke and mirrors? Do you think it'll be a no DQ match?
It's tough because it's obviously we have Monday Night Wars and WCW and NWO on the mind, very, very fresh. And so when you said that, my first thought was War Games. Maybe Goldberg will be utilized like Sting, just right at the end. We don't know what's going to happen. So other people are going to be the workers in this match, and it will be smoke and mirrors. And they will probably hide a little bit. I mean, Goldberg, he's 50 years old. I don't care if you're training with Bang Ludwig. It's you're still a 50-year-old man. And so there's going to have to be some element of smoke and mirrors here at this point.
Alex, do you think they're going to apply any stipulation? Do you think they're going to do anything? The match 12 years ago was not good.
No, it was not good. I think we all remember it as being worse because of the word that leaked out that they were both going to be gone after the match. So the crowd
and the high expectations for that match as well.
Right. But the crowd turned on it before it even started. So we remember it as being this complete debacle, and it was bad, but it wasn't as bad as we remember it. I think if we didn't know that both guys were out the door, then we probably would have remembered it in a different way because the crowd wouldn't have turned on it so quickly. But yeah, it was not great. It was certainly not great. And I don't know how kind 12 years has been to Goldberg. You know what I mean? You have Lesnar throwing around guys who are in the prime of their careers. So what's he going to do with this old man? I don't know. I mean, the whole thing is that he could be hiding the fact that he's in great shape and he's continued training or something. But
I don't think there's any way he's 280 like he used to be.
Yeah. I mean, he's not, but maybe he can move quicker now. He's not pushing around those extra 20 pounds or something. I don't know. But, do I expect it to be this barn burner? No. Do I think they could give us 8 to 10 minutes of good storytelling between two beasts, one guy giving it all in his last match? Yeah, I feel like they could give us that. Do I expect that they will? I don't know. I'm 50-50 on that. But I'm looking forward to seeing where they go from here. I hope they don't ruin it with bad promos for 6 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, I just hope it's at the point. I don't hope I'm not tired of it before it happens. I want them to book these next 5 weeks correctly in order for me to be anticipating it.
Had that promo been cut by anybody else, I would have probably thought it was totally lame, to be honest with you. But this was a special circumstance. By the way, guys, if you all haven't visited Fightful.com lately, go over there, visit. We have revamped the whole front page. We've applied more features for you all to be able to scroll through, just updated that, allow you to see more stories on the page. Also, we've optimized it for mobile. We got rid of the images. That way it makes that a little bit easier. We've implemented page breaks to make viewing parties load quicker. Also, we have individual homepages for MMA, wrestling, and boxing. We know that a lot of you do love the crossover between MMA, pro wrestling, and boxing, but some of you don't. So if you don't, you can go to Fightful.com/wrestling, Fightful.com/MMA, or Fightful.com/boxing. Bookmark those. You'll get all of those stories just exclusively right there. So go check that out. We're about to revamp the forums as well. Lots of cool stuff there. Also, last week's Matt Riddle and Vince Russo podcasts are available to non-members now on the website. But if you want to get early access to those, go there, register at Fightful.com. Absolutely free, no credit card required. Check that out. Lots of cool stuff coming to Fightful.com, guys, and we're always looking to add pro wrestlers, MMA fighters that want to get into podcasting, things of that nature. So let us know who you want to see, and we'll contact them. Now, the Goldberg thing, we mentioned his match 12 years ago. I think this is a part of the problem. Goldberg always did best when he worked from the top. Up until that Hogan match, he worked from the top. He wasn't doing a lot of selling before that. He was going in there, he was kicking the living shit out of people, and then he would win a match. The Hogan match, he did a little bit of selling because it's Hulk Hogan. He had to fight from underneath. But then after that, over the next several months, he was the babyface that had to work from underneath. People didn't like that. They didn't want that. In the WWE, he had to do that quite a bit as well because he was that babyface the whole time too. Brock Lesnar, that's how he works best as well. But of late, he's not worked very well in that manner. Like, he's had some underwhelming stuff of late. Like, I'd have to look back at his last several matches. I just remember the Ambrose match was just so disappointing. Yeah. So disappointing. It had every opportunity. It had all the makings to be something special. And if you listen to Dean Ambrose, it was because of Brock Lesnar that it was like that. I don't remember anything. I don't think the Orton match wasn't special. The roadblock match against Wyatt and Harper definitely wasn't special.
Yeah.
So do you think they can pull it off, Alex? Do you think they can make it something special?
The only way it works at all is if Goldberg is the underdog in the match. The older guy, his last match, Brock doesn't give a shit about your kids, and he doesn't give a shit about how old you are. He's going to screw you up. Like, that's what he does. So I think that they tell the story of this guy, like, giving his all and being beaten half to death. You know what I mean? And coming back and maybe nearly winning it, hitting a spear on him, but not getting him up for the jackhammer. I don't know. Like, I feel like over the next 5 weeks, they'll have a couple of guys, like the Shining Stars, will come out and interrupt a Goldberg promo, and they'll get speared and jackhammered. So we'll at least be able to see it once. But I can't imagine him hitting any of his finishing moves on Brock Lesnar in that match. So, yeah, I feel like it's going to be a tough ask for them to pull something out that could be considered even, 3.5 stars. I mean,
I agree. Trina, we still have you?
I don't know. Do you?
We can hear you.
We don't have you.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Okay.
We don't have a visual.
Okay, perfect. So what's interesting, going back to what you guys were talking about, is that I feel like especially when Sean says that Goldberg always worked from the top, that's always been his gimmick, that he was not a wrestler. Like, he was the guy that, like, really, really tough ex-football player guy that, like, didn't know how to wrestle and just destroyed everybody. And so it sort of works. It's what makes him, like, sort of like the perfect opponent, I feel like, for Brock at this point, because like, Brock has sort of been phoning it in for the last couple of months, maybe last year. And so for as much as we can speculate that it'll be maybe like a 2 or 3 star match, I think they've left a lot of room for us to speculate that it could be super, super awesome. But if you look at the way that they built Shane and The Undertaker, which I had high hopes for that one as well, that's not a really great precedent for big announcements of matches and then like a couple weeks of build up. So that's the only thing. If they had not sort of screwed up the Shane thing, I would have maybe bigger hopes for this match.
So Raw outside of this, Alex, I want to know your thoughts. You covered it for us. I'm sorry.
It was up and down. It's always very uneven. It's hard to have a show that is uniformly good, not even great, but good for 3 hours. But the thing is, it's also hard to do a show that's uniformly terrible for 3 hours. And, there are going to be highlights and lowlights. And I think it was kind of 50-50 for me. But the stuff that I liked, I really liked. And the stuff that I hated, I was like, that's bad. You know what I mean? It wasn't like something that just made me super angry or thought it was a terrible decision. So, I probably thought it was better than most. But then again, I love Bo Dallas. So stuff like that's going to make me extra happy.
Trina, your thoughts as you are upside down right now?
I know. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get this working. So for me, the whole thing was bookended by total babyface Seth, and obviously Goldberg at the end. Because I mean, Seth coming out and just being full on babyface, it stuck with me like for probably 3/4 of the show. Like, that's all I was thinking about. Like,
do you think he'll lose some of his edge that way, or do you think he'll retain it?
It's really interesting to see him as full on face, because it's like he really is, and I said this on Twitter, he's more of a lone wolf than Baron Corbin has ever been. Like that term applies to him now more than it's ever applied to anyone, because he has nobody. Like, he doesn't have the authority. He doesn't have any friends. I mean, so it's a really interesting take on him, because not only is he a face, but he doesn't have any friends. And so
they got to play that up.
Right.
They got to play that up.
Right. And I mentioned, I was like, this is pretty much what they wanted Roman's first push to be like. Like, it's so weird, because like, it's very, very evident to me that Seth going over as a face like this is exactly what they had wanted with Roman in the first place.
Well, they did what was necessary. Had Roman Reigns done that, had Roman Reigns turned on the Shield, and you have to do scummy things to end up with no friends in the WWE. Also, you have to be a little bit selfish. Being a little bit selfish doesn't make the fans hate you. I mean, people are selfish by and large, and that's okay. Seth Rollins has been selfish. People don't hate him for it. People probably wouldn't have hated Roman Reigns for it either. Alex, do you think that they could have went that route with Roman Reigns? Do you think if they went the same route with Roman Reigns that they did with Seth Rollins, do you think that could have worked, or do you think it's just a byproduct of who these two guys are?
I honestly don't think Roman is skilled enough on the mic, being anybody other than Smarmy Joe. Like, that's just who he is. He's just this, man, everything's funny to me. Look at my smirk. And it's not, it just, that kind of thing isn't going to get over either way. Like, he's not evil enough to be a heel, and he's just too much of a dick to be a babyface. And the other thing is that I have been wanting a Seth babyface turn for a while, but if they're just going to have him do the lines that babyface Roman would do, like calling Chris Jericho Sparkle Crotch, is exactly what late 2015 Roman Reigns would do. He had a whole remember the Tater Tots promo that he had with Sheamus? It's the exact same thing, but we like Seth, so we'll forgive Seth for just doing Sparkle.
I sure as hell didn't forgive him for it. I thought this was cornier than the shit that I took last week. Man, this was terrible.
Yeah,
I didn't like it, and I was like, no, don't do this. Yeah. Not to him. Let him just be the jackass that he was being before. Let him be the guy that thinks everything is a little bit ridiculous. Like that he's the one that's getting screwed over, because he kind of was all along.
The thing with him is that he's conspiracy theorist Seth is what he has been for a while. Like, everybody's in on it against me. And it can be kind of annoying until it's obviously in a few months going to be proven that everybody is in it against him. And when that happens, we'll be on his side.
One of my favorite TNA storylines of all time, I don't know if you all remember this. I feel like it was from 2010. One of the few good things about 2010, you had like Sting and Kevin Nash, and I feel like Samoa Joe and the Pope, and they all were portrayed as heels. And they were all like, Hogan's in on some shit. Bischoff is in on some shit. Everybody's in on some shit. And they all looked like heels. And then there was this giant turn where Hogan and Bischoff were revealed to be these scumbags. And it's like these four guys who were beloved, well, in the cases of most, were automatically baby faces. They were right. They were right all along. And it just kind of got dropped a little bit. That was a beautifully crafted storyline that I think has gone under the radar for so long that a guy like Seth Rollins could pick that up and really run with it. Yeah, he is being colluded against. I can say this. I am being colluded against in one of my fantasy football leagues, so I can relate to this all too well. These jobbers that I'm in a league with shut down a Brady, Gronk, big trade. I feel you, Seth Rollins. Your on it boy here has you covered. I feel your pain. Collusion everywhere. That's what Seth Rollins needs to do. Let him be the Jesse Ventura of today, not the Jesse Ventura back in the day. Did you all happen to see him on the Joe Rogan Experience last week?
No, but I've seen him on other stuff. If he's doing the same thing on Joe Rogan, he's been doing other ones. He's
guano crazy, this guy.
Rare form.
He's great. It's up on the website, by the way, guys. You all should check that out. So yeah, this led, Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens are out there. Chris Jericho's list is so over, so super over. They had a match. It wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but I'll say this. Chris Jericho's still doing that lion salt at almost 46 years old, like he's 25. Trina, can you do the lion salt?
No, I would totally. So I'm far younger than Jericho, and I totally cannot.
Allegedly.
Yeah, right. Allegedly. So no, I can't. It's amazing. And what I thought was interesting about that first segment was that I feel like within maybe 2 or 3 minutes of them starting their promos, I was like, I feel like Jericho and KO have jumped the shark. Like I was pretty much ready to say, okay, I'm done with this. And then they started teasing the breakup a lot more than they have before. So I feel like the timing was pretty perfect because like it just, I love them too. I love their chemistry together. I love the list. Obviously their comedy is fantastic, but it just felt stale. Like right when the show started, it felt stale. And it felt like at this point, Jericho is almost weakening KO as a champion. Like it just felt forced the way like Dana and Charlotte did. And I don't know what it was. Maybe it's just me, but that segment really, like immediately they jumped the shark and then they teased the turns. I was like, okay, this works. Let's break them up because I'm ready for them to be separate people and I'm ready for KO to be a strong champion. And go back to status quo.
Alex, you think we're getting this feud, this Jericho Kevin Owens feud?
I think it all depends on how long Jericho's going to stick around. You know what I mean? Like he
just signed a new record deal.
So, like if he's going back on tour with Fozzy, then he's not going to be wrestling. So you got
it's going to be a big blow to Raw.
Yeah. Oh, huge. He's one of the most important things on Raw every week. The way they were teasing you're on the list, they dragged that out for like 15 to 20 seconds, and the crowd was hanging on every single moment. So, I mean, he's just so valuable to what they're doing. The thing about it that is something that I've just, it's something I will always harp on is that you can't have a heel champion without him being either A, a coward, B, having a bunch of guys who run with him to have the damn numbers game, or both. And I just want to see Kevin Owens not be booked as this coward, because he's not. Like, he's certainly smart enough to get out of a fight if the numbers are against him, but he's not going to back down from Seth Rollins one-on-one. He's just not going to do that. That's not who he's never been that. So now, and he wasn't when he didn't have the belt. So now that he has the belt, he's just got to, it's just a thing that they keep doing. At some point, I just want him to be able to, hold his own.
I'd love for him to be the street smart champion.
Yeah.
That finds like ways to get out of things that don't portray him as a coward. He's just really, really smart about things. Yeah. Well, we have Seth Rollins beat Chris Jericho. And they had Seth Rollins in the Walls of Jericho for like a solid minute and a half. And he sold it after the match, which is good. Golden Truth and Mark Henry versus Shining Stars and Titus O'Neil. All I'll say this is how they bring back Mark Henry.
Yeah. He hasn't been on TV since the Olympics. Since before the Olympics. Remember how since
the 96 Olympics.
he came on and he was like, hey, Mick, hey, Steph, I really want to be a major player on Raw. And they were like, well, we kind of drafted you to be a mentor to other people and not actually ever wrestle. So how about you take this made-up thing we just came up with, the ambassador of WWE, and go to Brazil and get Zika? And then, come back 3 months later, unceremoniously in a match, a 6-man tag, where the only thing,
by the way,
it was terrible. The only thing he did was step into the ring on a blind tag and give the world's strongest slam to Titus O'Neil for the pin. That was it. Did one move and that was it. Like, I don't understand why he's even there. But I do hope this leads to more Titus O'Neil press conferences solely attended
that was so
by Tom.
Good.
Those
you sent me that damn link last week. Go back, guys, and watch the.
Oh God!
Go back and watch last week's Raw Fallout with Titus O'Neil. It was the most unintentionally hilarious thing, and they just ran with it. It was great. Alex sent me that, and I was like, "Why isn't this on the show?"
It should have been on the show. It should be.
I don't want to talk about Titus anymore. I don't want to talk about Titus anymore. Bo Dallas beat Neville. Hot diggity damn, I don't get it. You get fucking drunk at an airport and sing the Circle of Life, and you revive your career. What?
I don't know.
He got arrested on before an international flight. He was posted, this guy.
And
he's beating Neville.
It doesn't make any sense. But I'll tell you what is great about what they're doing. I can't explain the whole thing with the drunk on the flight. I can't explain why they're choosing to do this now. But I've been waiting for them to use him. I loved Bo Dallas when he was in NXT before he became champ. Because once you become champ and you're a heel, they kind of neuter you. Before that, as he was becoming champ, while Big E was champ in NXT, he was great. He was a whirling dervish. He never stopped moving. He hit people really hard for a guy who wasn't that big. And I felt like since he's been on Raw, they haven't used him properly. And because he can be vicious. And I love this new thing they're doing with him. I like that he's not doing a poetry slam before beating a jobber anymore. I like that. I still don't know why he's carrying around the election sign. But this thing they're doing with him, that they had been doing with him and Curtis Axel, where Curtis Axel still wants to be friends, and Bo's like, no, nobody else can believe in Bo, and Curtis Axel gets him a match with Neville, which is their big rivalry from NXT, and then Bo Dallas beats him clean as a whistling sheet in the middle of the ring. And he did it by scouting Neville perfectly. The only thing Neville does is he hits the red arrow and wins. So if you sucker him into knowing that he's going to go up and do that, and then he does this cool leg sweep thing on Neville, drags him in the ring, hits that reverse crossroads of his, and pins him. That's it. No chicanery, nothing. And then, as Curtis Axel is celebrating, he beats the crap out of Curtis Axel. And if you go back to earlier this year to the social outcast version of Bo Dallas, who was just a grinning idiot who just kept saying Axel over and over again, he's my best friend, to now being this, the guy is a bipolar hero. And I can't wait to see what they do from here, because I don't know what this is, but it's new, it's interesting, and it's different, which is something that Raw usually is not.
I think this should have been Darren Young losing. But besides that.
Right, sure. You can do that. I'm fine with that.
Right.
Trina, which did you care more about, the Bo Dallas segment or the Shining Stars segment?
Well, I'll say for the Shining Stars segment, it was a little funny because everybody noticed that this was sort of like a career rejuvenation for Mark Henry and Goldust and it's just like what's old is new again.
The Attitude Era team.
Everybody's coming back. But what I will say also about Bo Dallas is that the only way that I can make sense of that is creative, or maybe even Bo Dallas. I don't know who can take credit for this, but they've used the storyline to sort of justify changing his character completely. Because, if they were smart, and they don't typically do this, but they could paint it as, look, he got in trouble, he got arrested, that lit a fire under his ass, we were like, we're going to fire you if you don't do something creative, and he's done something amazing with it. And it's so intriguing to see this side of him, because I didn't see him that much in NXT. And so I like this version of him. And really the only way to make sense of it is, look, maybe his job was on the line, and this is him taking control of his own career and giving us something that is worth watching.
Fair enough. We had Big E and Sheamus. This was a pretty good match, hidden within mainly a promo. New Day came out and made a bunch of weed references because they were in Denver, their 420th day. Then Big E faced Sheamus. They beat the crap out of each other. I mean, brutalized each other. Cesaro Facebook Live, I think, the thing. But that's after he said he didn't have Facebook.
Yeah.
Does this make you think he's a heel, Trina, because he's a dirty, lying bastard?
Yeah, well,
because he has
right. Well, the lines are definitely blurred here, because I definitely tweeted that when the New Day came out and it was Cesaro and Sheamus. I'm like, who are the heels and who are the faces here? Who am I supposed to, because I like them all, and I think definitely they were painting Cesaro and Sheamus as, I guess, the heels in this case. Maybe they're just gonna take Cesaro's character and go full corny, goofy Austin Powers in terms of, instead of James Bond, let's just go the opposite direction and just turn him heel. And I mean, when you put him up against the New Day, it's like nobody can compete unless you're Cass and Enzo. So I don't know what direction they're going in here. And honestly, if this is the direction they're going in, that's what I would do. I would just make Cesaro goofy and suddenly he doesn't have Facebook and he does. And, out of touch, now it's just ridiculous that he's wearing suits to the ring. So I think they could do that if that's the direction they want to go.
Alex.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I wouldn't mind seeing a best of 7 with Big E and Sheamus. I mean, those guys.
I wouldn't mind seeing a best of 7 with Big E and anybody. I love Big E as a singles guy.
Big E is I really think the New Day, when they are done, i.e. when they finally lose the title, you can have Big E break off. You can keep Kofi and Xavier together. Xavier's proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that he can go in the ring. He belongs there with those guys. So he's not just a de facto manager with a trombone anymore. So keep him and Kofi together and have Big E go on a singles run because he and Sheamus just laid into each other. It was back and forth, really good stuff, hard hitting, unforgiving, and I was really into it. And then I was like, oh, right, they have to play up the fact that they don't like each other, that Cesaro and Sheamus will they ever get on the same page? And then later, I don't know if you guys spotted this, but the Raw before Hell in a Cell, at Hell in a Cell, Sheamus and Cesaro are going to fight for the tag team championships against the New Day. And on the Raw before, on the go home, they're going to fight them in a non-title match. So they're going to give that away for us. I was really excited, kind of, to see if Cesaro and Sheamus could actually coexist in a tag match, their first one against real competition for the titles at Hell in a Cell. But no, they're going to give it to us for free.
They always do that. They never give you a first time anything. Like tonight, Dana Brooke beat Bayley, which I don't want to talk about, but we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
They don't do anything for the first time. We'll go ahead and talk about that, by the way.
Yeah.
God, they had a shitty match.
Yeah.
Bayley and Dana Brooke screwed up the spot where she was supposed to have her feet on the ropes. And
her legs were too short. Like it was just, you could tell she was trying so hard to get her toe on the rope, and she was just too short. And I felt so bad for her because she was like, "Oh, darn it."
I saw people saying like, Dana Brooke shouldn't have been up yet. She wasn't ready. You know who also wasn't ready? Nia Jax. And what are they doing with her? Nothing. Shit.
Well, she was actually somehow on Superstars tonight, fighting Alicia Fox again. So like they don't know what they're doing. How much
more valuable would Dana Brooke, Apollo Crews, and Nia Jax be on NXT right now?
Oh my God, so much more.
Because
they should be able to float back and forth if they're not being used up here.
Yes.
They should be able to float. I don't understand why they're not. The cruiserweights are doing it. Like, there's no reason why Nia Jax
the cruiserweights are lighter, so of course they can float.
But
Weight humor.
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I think we might have found ourselves in another sort of like mistaken situation here where Dana Brooke messes up, and then if you listen, the commentary like sold it afterwards. Like, no, she's super dominant. She wins clean all the time. So it's like, what if the fact that she couldn't reach the ropes with her feet turns her into this super dominant heel, which I was buying. I was ready to buy it. You know, like once commentary said like, no, she beat Bayley fair, clean. Dominantly, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is what I've been waiting for. I mean, I've wanted them to go all in with Dana because she's so green. It's like it's an either or for me. Either you put her back down in NXT or you give her like a monstrous push. You know, it's all or nothing. I feel like if you're going to fail at this, let's fail beautifully.
Well,
speaking of monster push, well, go ahead, Alex.
No, I was going to say that not to step on your segue. But I play the what if game a lot with injuries and stuff. And the what if for me is they were obviously going to pair Dana with Emma on the main roster. They got brought up together. They were so good together in NXT, and then Emma got hurt. And now they've repackaged her apparently as Emmalina, which just they've repackaged her as an Instagram model. And I don't know how that's a wrestler, but we're going to see. But I don't think they're ever going to interact with each other anymore. And I think that they kind of panicked and threw Dana in with Charlotte because they knew Dana couldn't stand on her own. But I don't know what would have happened if Emma and Dana had been able to finish that feud they had going on with Becky Lynch. I thought that was something that had legs and could have carried them through the summer. But we'll never know. And now I think it's time to punt on Dana Brooke and get her back in NXT where she can, join the mean girls they got down there, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. Like, that would be a fun little triumvirate. But
she should mentor them like Emma mentored her.
Yeah, something like that.
And make that a storyline. As I was saying, speaking of monster pushes, this is one of my favorite things on the show. Braun Strowman slaughtered 3 guys. He qualified for the 2020 Olympics in shot put when he threw this son of a bitch 40 yards. 40 freaking yards, Alex.
You got to remember, it's Denver, and it's really high, so the air is thinner, so it's easier to throw guys farther.
It is. It's the old Coors Field thing, like in baseball, where all the Colorado Rockies would hit like 40 home runs a year. Maybe had a little bit to do with steroids, too.
Right, but that was
saying that Braun Strowman's doing steroids.
As I recall, the Dante
Bichette and Vinny Castilla and all those guys.
Yeah, and Andres Galarraga.
Ellis Burks.
I'm sure there was nothing going on there. But anyway, Braun Strowman.
These are a couple of Rocky Pro guys, by the way.
Were they?
Yeah, Rocky Mountain Pro.
They all looked like they got pulled off of Colorado University's quad. Like they looked like they've been playing hacky sack 20 minutes earlier. They did not look like wrestlers at all, and I thought it was kind of cool just to have these 3 guys, the Mile High Trio, who claimed that there's no man the 3 of them can't beat.
Well, you predicted it, Alex. Sami Zayn is that guy. I like this. Sami Zayn is the type of guy you want working with him. He fights from underneath. He can get a good match out of somebody, or at least a passable match. Trina, what do you think about the idea of putting Sami Zayn in the ring with a very, very green, very inexperienced, but a surprisingly entertaining Braun Strowman?
Right. Well, I mean, the internet as a whole sort of as a joke that like Sami Zayn's my guy. And so when his music hit and he came out, people were like, "Oh, your boy's dead," pretty much. And it's interesting that you talk about the 3 jobbers that way, because I think they had to be normal looking guys to still sell you on the fact that Sami Zayn's still the the underdog from the underground. And as you guys are talking about it now, you're starting to sell me on it. I think my personal feelings towards Sami are what are coloring my opinions about this. And so when his music hit, I was like, oh God, like this is not. I don't think this is the right thing for him, because I feel like he's being buried right now, and putting him up against a guy that just beat 3 people isn't really the thing that's going to elevate him. And so but as you guys talk about it a little bit more, I am seeing sort of a scenario here where it could work for both of them. Obviously, Sami's super experienced. To put him in with Braun Strowman would teach Braun Strowman a lot, I think, and the way that Jericho was able to put over younger guys and new talent, I think Sami Zayn has the possibility of doing that with Braun Strowman for sure.
I'm excited for this. I'm all in on it. I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
Alex, are you ready for Sasha Banks versus Charlotte via these sit-down video interviews?
I mean, this is the whole thing, is that these things are always kind of pointless, because you ask your talent, do you think you will win? And what do you expect them to say? So it's kind of just like finding new ways of saying it. And I think Charlotte has improved so much in the way that she tells a story, both in the ring and on the mic. And I mean, I'm all in on Charlotte for the future, which is why I'm happy that if the rumors are true, that Vince put the kibosh on a moonsault off the cell that she wanted to do. If she really asked to do that and he said no, I'm like, thank you, Vince. For the first time,
stick the landing. She's a pretty good gymnast.
She's a good gymnast, but that's high up. And I mean, I don't know if they're gonna back a dump truck full of like gravel or whatever it was,
sawdust or whatever it was that Rikishi fell into.
Whatever that was, I don't know if they're gonna find a way to back that up into the thing, but
Ric Flair just shows up drunk and lost driving a dump truck.
If they found a way to get 4 or 5 other people down there for her to land on, cool. But just on top of Sasha Banks, it would just look like those old. It would look like one of those old Looney Tunes cartoons where like an anvil falls from off the cliff onto Wile E. Coyote. Like it would just not look good. But I was impressed by her thing. I thought, honestly, it felt like Sasha wasn't being managed when she was giving her answers. It felt like those were kind of off the cuff. They sounded better than all of her scripted promos that she's been given. So I mean, I'm interested to see this, but I also feel like if it's true they're going to main event the pay-per-view, that's enough. You don't have to put them then also in a Hell in a Cell. It just becomes overkill at that point. I mean, hopefully not literally, because if they're not allowed to do a moonsault off the top of the cell, what are they going to try to do instead? Like if that was their first choice, what's number two? So I don't want either of these women to get hurt and miss a significant amount of time or to end their careers because they keep wanting to one up each other. I mean, I could easily see Sasha doing the thing where she's going to do a suicide dive and kind of Charlotte catching her, using the momentum and just javelining her into the side of the cage, something stupid like that. And I don't want anyone to get hurt, but I kind of want to see a great match. So, I mean, you kind of got to walk that line.
Trina, your feelings on these promos?
I'm so the opposite on this. I love that Alex is very concerned about them. But as a woman, I want to see them in Hell in a Cell. I think we only progress by pushing the limit and evolving. And I think this is the direction that we need to go into, especially if you're a Lucha Underground fan and you've seen what the girls over there are doing. So, I get it. They're Sasha Banks is so tiny and Hell in a Cell, we've never done, women in a cage before. It's scary. But I have to say, like, as a woman, and somebody who supports women's wrestling, I want to see them go like balls to the wall. I mean, I don't want to see a moonsault off the top of the cage, but I'm really interested in the show that they're going to put on. Because, I mean, look, we go back to Bayley and Sasha at NXT Brooklyn. They put on a hell of a show. Let's see Charlotte and Sasha in a Hell in a Cell and see what they're going to do. Because, like I said, we can't progress unless we move forward a little bit and we evolve a little bit. And I trust these two to put on a good enough show that might really convince some people that women's wrestling is legit.
And I want to say that I would be much more okay with, say, Taya and Sexy Star in a Hell in a Cell match because of the way that they work and the experience they have in that style. I just feel like we saw Charlotte nearly kill or at least severely maim Sasha in a botched spot at SummerSlam, and that didn't involve steel of any kind. That's the only thing is because of the history they have together that makes me kind of wary. But yes, I agree. Progress can only be made if you push the envelope, and this could certainly be that.
I certainly echo that sentiment. I'm looking forward to the match. I hope it main events. We will speed through a couple other things. Big Cass defeated Carl Anderson. Nothing to really talk about here.
That was quick, too. Like, I don't know what they're doing.
Rusev came out and showed a bunch of pictures of his family.
Rusev got the crowd to boo having a mother and loving her.
He's good.
Don't you dare boo my mother. Don't you dare boo her.
Oh, I like that he got the heat on Roman Reigns, too. Good for that.
Yeah, he somehow did. They booed dogs. They got a crowd to boo having a dog.
Yeah.
I don't. He's so good at being anything you want.
Stoners.
Something like that. I don't know.
Then we had, really the last segment we'll talk about Raw before we get into the other news. Cruiserweights. Now, they had a really weird wooden segment backstage, but then they had a really, really fun match. They, Rich Swann is amazing. All these guys are really, really good. They're really good. Trina, your thoughts on the promo quickly, and then the match.
Yeah, the promo was hilarious to me because it really, you have Gulak and Tony Nese and Brian Kendrick standing there, and then here comes babyface TJ Perkins. I tweeted that they're making it really evident that TJ is unable to grow facial hair here. So it It was a very wooden segment. It really didn't feel organic. It was pretty forced. I think it comes down to exactly what you said. Like, they put on a great match, and that's why the Cruiserweight Classic worked in the first place, where they weren't trying to necessarily force storylines down our throat. I think they should just let these guys wrestle and let people choose who they like and choose their favorites, and stop trying to create storylines that seem really disingenuous.
Yeah, I mean, I got way too excited for the idea of a heel faction of cruiserweights, of Brian Kendrick and his Rocksteady and Bebop, of Drew Gulak and Tony Nese, two dumb guys who do all the work for him, and then he comes in and hits and puts on his unbreakable bully choke, his captain's hook. And I mean, as problematic as it can be to have the two black guys be the guys who love to have fun, I'm all in on Swan and Alexander as a team, and I like they're backing up Perkins. I'm fine with Kendrick using all of the terrible video game phrasing as an insult to TJP, but having TJP come back and say, "Hey, man, it's going to be game over." It's like, you can't write for him that way. You can have. I love Brian Kendrick calling him Game Boy. I think that's a great way to get him out there and into it. But I love what they're doing with Brian Kendrick as the guy who is slower and not as talented as the other guys around him, but will do anything to win a match. That's a cool character to have in your back pocket. And when they finally put the title on him, you're going to have guys like Cedric Alexander chasing it. And I think that will make or break the Cruiserweight division.
So as I mentioned, Old Faithful, Paige and Alberto Del Rio. Anytime your boy needs a headline, these two come through. Trina, you're about to get married. Do you think these two are about to? Do you think they'll really tie the knot? Paige proposed to Del Rio.
I know this is a very interesting time for this story to come up, because you got married too recently, and the thing is, like, you know, some people, if they listen to the podcast or whatever, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of marriage. I'm getting married this weekend, but it's taken.
There were some that said that you were married to the wall the first few weeks that you were on the show.
Well, I mean, look, it's taken me 11 years to get to this point that we're coming up on Sunday. So it's like, I'm not necessarily, wife and kids, happy home sort of type of person here. So I don't really believe in the conventional beliefs that go along with marriage. And so when I saw that, I get everybody's initial reaction. Like, look, this is a mistake. Like, obviously this is Paige's breakdown that we're watching. It's like a slow motion car crash. But as somebody who just doesn't look at marriage that way, I'm like, you know what? Just let him make the mistakes. Like, it's not that big of a deal. That was my first reaction. Del Rio's been married once. He's still not divorced, I don't think. So he's, I think, still technically married. The reaction was weird to me, because it's like, we're in 2016. Let these people make their mistakes or live their lives or whatever it is, and don't make it such a big, statement about their morality or the fact that Paige is completely ruining her life. I don't know. We've seen breakdowns like this before. There is a scenario where Paige survives and comes back, and it's just weird to see the internet go up in arms and suddenly be like morality police about Paige's life.
Alex, you have a child on the way.
I do.
How long do you think it takes them before?
You know what? This thing.
That's a logical next step in this. If this were a written storyline, it would be masterfully crafted.
Yeah. This might be a shotgun wedding, if you know what I'm talking about.
As in, they're going to shoot each other with a shotgun?
Possibly. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's true love. Maybe we're all just, being dicks about this, and it's really a really great thing for the two of them. But maybe this will all crash and burn, and hopefully it doesn't wind up with somebody in rehab or worse. You know what I mean? Because the thing that came out about Paige's 60-day suspension is that it was a recreational drug. Am I right? So, we don't know what's going on there exactly. And she's proposing to a man who's still technically married. So, in the wrestling ring where everyone's there and he's kind of forced to say sure, you know what I mean? Like it's a very odd. It feels very Bonnie and Clyde-ish. Like this is this crazy the crazy love, like what was that terrible Drew Barrymore movie from the 90s with her and Chris O'Donnell, Mad Love? Like it just feels very, very weird. And the fact that like it could be put off as young love, but like Del Rio's like 40. Like I don't know where to go with this, but I'm willing to sit back and not pass judgment on it until I see what happens with it. But I do hope that that it's not a bunch of wrestling fans who think of Paige as being this flower they need to protect from herself, that she can't make her own decisions, because that's bullshit. So, let's give it time to see what happens. But I mean, I could see Mama Paige here in the next year or so.
We have about 4 or 5 minutes left, so we're going to bring up the GSP news. GSP appeared on Ariel Helwani's MMA Hour today and said that he is a free agent, that he and his lawyer had terminated the contract with UFC, saying that he wanted to fight in Toronto. He said that he wanted to fight in general, said he didn't ask for $10 million. Personally, I think $10 million would have been a bargain for him compared to what they're paying Conor McGregor. It's very possible Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey could be one and done coming up soon. There are rumors McGregor wants to take time off. You never know what will happen with Rousey. Outside of that, John Jones ain't around. You won't have a big pay-per-view draw. The new ownership was not willing to honor the agreement that Lorenzo Fertitta had given GSP before he left. So he and his lawyer gave them a deadline, terminated the contract. The UFC released a statement today saying that he is still under contract and they intend on giving him a fight under his old contract. Trina, do you think GSP ever fights again? Do you think he fights under the UFC banner? Do you think he fights somewhere else?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I've been a fan for a really long time. And I've been a fan since before GSP was a champion. So I've followed his career for a really long time. And as a fan, it's just a really sad situation because it looks like GSP and the UFC here are really at a crossroads that it's an impasse. They're not going to. I don't think they're going to come to terms here, because I think GSP's biggest thing is the Reebok deal. Like, he doesn't want any part of that. And I mean, it doesn't matter who owns the UFC. They have a deal with Reebok in place that they can't really violate the terms of that contract. So it's tough. And so the first I tweeted at you, it was like the first thing I thought was like, oh, GSP to Bellator. But like that's sucks. Like, GSP is so good, like way too good for that. Like there's nobody in Bellator that he can fight. And it would suck to see like his whole legacy and like this latter part of his career be in Bellator. I mean, at this point, I would even rather see him in Ryzen. I feel like they could come up with a better matchup there, because Bellator at this point is just such a like a circus that. It doesn't befit GSP. It doesn't befit him at all.
He could fight Chael Sonnen in Bellator, and that's it, at 185. And that's not much of a fight. GSP would just destroy him. GSP wants to fight for the UFC. I don't know what – like I said, John Jones isn't fighting for a while. Rousey could be one and done. Conor McGregor, you never know on a week-to-week basis what the guy's going to do. You need a major pay-per-view guy, and he is that guy. So hopefully they can come to terms. It's a very unique situation. Trina, tell the people about the Last Mark Standing podcast before we head off, and before you head off for several weeks, actually.
Yeah. So I'll be, sort of on and offline here for the next couple of weeks. I'll be out of the country. So, but you can find all of our podcasts, our library, our full library, and the merch, like the hat I'm wearing right now, at lastmarkstanding.com. I mean, I'll be gone for a couple of weeks, but I am back in the country November 12th. Might try and produce some content while I'm away, but I won't guarantee anything.
Alex, tell the folks what you do here. What exactly is it you do here?
I'm the guy who writes the recaps and reactions for all the stuff that goes on in the pro graps. Just today, I published my main event and superstars roundup from last week.
Much better than the actual show.
Which is thank you, but that's not a very high bar to clear. Notable mostly for the fact that Mojo Rawley has taken to wrestling in pink Zubaz board shorts, which makes him officially a parody of himself. So I write the Uncooked Raw reaction, the SmackDown Reactdown, and the Wednesday Wrestling recap, which or a wrap up, which involves NXT and Lucha Underground. And you can follow me on Twitter at Pawlowski the Fourth, PAWLOWSKITHE, the numeral 4TH.
You can follow your boy, who is verified, by the way, guys. I'm just saying, I'm the only verified person on this podcast.
Yeah.
As Sean Ross Sapp. Follow us at Fightful Online. Go to Fightful.com. Fightful.com/MMA/wrestling/boxing. Get your shit at Fightful.com, guys. I am back tomorrow night after SmackDown with Jeff Hawkins of Shake Them Ropes. Back Wednesday with Showdown Joe. We're talking all kinds of GSP stuff then. Back Thursday afternoon with Matt Riddle. And we got Matt Riddle a damn webcam and a mic. I'm so happy. Friday afternoon with Vince Russo, who is mad at me. He's pissy, so pissy that I'm making him watch Raw, guys. So totes pissy, this guy. Looking forward to it. Always a good time with Vince Russo. His kid got married. Everybody's getting hitched. Everybody. Fightful.com is a place to be. What I want you to do is just keep the page open all day, guys. When you're at work, every hour, just clickety-clack, refresh it. Check out the stories. You know what? Knock on your boss's door and say, listen, there's this great website. It's called Fightful. We should probably advertise on it. We should probably mandate it be the start page for all the computers here. You might not keep your job, but I will appreciate your effort. So that's a thing that you need to put on the docket for Tuesday, guys. Check us out, Fightful.com. 5 to 7 podcasts a week. Exclusive stories. That Muhammad Hassan follow-up is up on the wrestling page now, guys, so go check that out. I am the only guy to interview Muhammad Hassan in like the last 7 or 8 years, something like that. I don't know what the hell it is. But he likes me. Go check it out. Until next time, guys, we are out.